Hey, how's it going? Zach D Productions here, and I'm here for a list video for you guys. So for this list, I'll be going over my favorite films of the year 2012. Now, I've done list videos like this for music as well, where I talk about my favorite albums from a particular year. So I figured why not give the same treatment to movies as well, where I go over a particular year and talk about my favorite movies of that year, and definitely expect more videos like this. So for this video, we're going to talk about 2012, and I have about 8 movies here, and honestly, 2012 I thought it has been a pretty good year for movies, so let's go ahead and get started. Now the first film I'm going to go over here is Marvel's The Avengers, and this is the first one from 2012, and if I'm honest, this is probably my least favorite of all the Avengers films. Yes, I even think Age of Ultron is better. Get over it. I do like this movie, though. I mean, I do think it is probably the weakest of all the Avengers films we've gotten so far, again, but I still think it's solid. I mean, all the MCU movies prior to this point were basically leading up to this. With the individual Iron Man films, with the individual Thor film, and the Captain America film. All were leading up to this, and they all come together, and it's just really cool. I mean, I remember this movie was really big when it came out. And I think the scene that people remember the most about this movie, myself included, is, of course, the battle in New York City. I mean, one of the most memorable scenes in maybe all of the MCU, at least I would say so. And you of course have Loki back as the villain, and he was in the first Thor movie. So yeah, really good movie. I don't love it like a lot of people do, but I do like it a lot, though. I think it's a very solid film. So The Avengers. So next we have Red Dawn, the remake of Red Dawn, which originally came out in the 80s, but we're talking about the 2012 remake. Now, I know that some people don't like this movie. I know that some people actually say that it's crap. I mean, I don't love the movie, but I do like it, though, and I do understand that it does have its problems. That I will admit. But I actually quite like the movie for what it is. You do have Chris Hemsworth in this movie, actually, who did play Thor. And you also have Josh from Drake and Josh in this movie as well, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting seeing him in an action movie, since he's a comedical actor, you could say. But I do like him in the movie. I've always been a fan of Josh. But yeah, pretty interesting movie, I would say. Some cool action. I mean, it's not over-the-top action or anything. It's not anything that is super groundbreaking or anything. I mean, but it's enjoyable for what it is, I think. So, Red Dawn from 2012. Next, we have the movie Chronicle, which, when I saw this at the theater, I loved the heck out of this movie when this movie came out. I love the style and the way it was shot, basically. It's all found footage. I was definitely a big fan of that. And the performances from all the actors, of course, like Dane DeHaan, who is basically this troubled kid. He comes from basically an abusive family, mainly coming from his dad. And, you know, when he gets these powers, he takes everything out on him, and then he becomes insane and everything. Basically, the story follows these 3 guys who discover this alien thing in this hole that gives them these powers, and it's just a really cool movie and a really cool story. And if you like found footage films, I'd say definitely check this one out. I will say that this is one of the only found footage films that I've ever watched, so I mean, from what I've seen, it's pretty cool. I do like it, so yeah, very cool movie. I'd say it's really good. So Chronicle, pretty underrated movie as well. That's definitely worth checking out. So next we have The Dark Knight Rises. And honestly, this is another movie that I find to be kind of underrated. And I say that because I know that some people say that this is the worst of all the live-action Batman films, which I would say it's one of the worst, but with that said, I still think it's a solid movie. I do. I like Christian Bale's performance as Batman in this movie. I think it's really solid, and you have Tom Hardy as Bane in this movie. I know that some people don't like this particular version of Bane, but I personally don't mind him. Cool action scenes and everything like that. I dig pretty much about everything about this movie. I think the action's solid. Story's not too bad. I mean, the story, yeah, it has its flaws, but overall, I'd say it's a solid film. So, The Dark Knight Rises, I'd say it's a good movie. Again, not one of the best Batman films, but I'd say it's still good for what it is. So next we have The Expendables 2. And I think that this is a very solid film as well. Not as good as the first film, but still very solid. Honestly, this film is not... I wouldn't say it's not much worse than the first film. I mean, not much separates this film from the first film for me. But when it comes to the Expendables films, I do think that the third one is easily the weakest. Honestly, I find that movie to be kind of boring, to be honest. But the first two, I think, are great. They're great movies. The third one, I think, is still okay. It's just the most boring out of the entire trilogy. But yeah, they definitely amped up the action in this movie. It has more action, more brutality, you could say, than the original film. Now, the original definitely had its brutal moments in action, but I think that they stepped it up on this movie here. And I do like that. Still, I think the first one is still the best of all the films that we've gotten so far. And I do, of course, like a lot of these actors, like Stallone and Jason Statham. I'm a huge Jason Statham fan, which some of you already know that. But yeah, you have some lines in this movie as well, like from Arnold, where he says, I'm back, and, you know, just these classic lines and these things that they throw in there from these classic action movies. I mean, just really cool stuff. I dig the action and everything, so yeah. The Expendables 2, I'd say it's a great movie for sure, and if you have not seen this one in a while, definitely check it out. So next we have Skyfall, which is, of course, the third James Bond movie with Daniel Craig. And I know that a lot of fans of Bond say that this is the best of the Daniel Craig era. For me, it's my second favorite of the Daniel Craig era. Casino Royale would be at the top for me, and I know that movie would be at the top for a lot of people as well, but this movie here, it comes in a close second. It's very action-packed. I do dig the action in this movie. When it comes to the mood of this movie, it's a lot more somber than the previous two films in the Daniel Craig universe at the time. But yeah, Daniel Craig, his performance in this movie is definitely a standout. I love the opening scene where, you know, he's investigating and then he chases down that guy and they land on this train, and then James Bond gets shot and he's basically pronounced dead until proven otherwise, until M finds out he's still alive, and you know, he basically goes into a low-key retirement as well. He tells her he's enjoying death. One of my favorite lines in the movie. Where have you been? Enjoying death. It's just a great movie. I mean, I've always really enjoyed it. I believe this was actually the only Bond movie I've ever seen in the theater as well. A little fun fact. But yeah, even the ending is epic when, you know, that showdown is going down at that mansion, and just everything goes down. I mean, it's just really epic. A lot of epic moments in this movie for sure, and definitely worth checking out for sure. So, Skyfall, I know that a lot of people give this movie praise, and for good reason. I think it's a great film, and definitely worth checking out if you have not seen it. So, Skyfall, definitely a great movie. Definitely one of the best of 2012. So next we have the movie Safe with Jason Statham. Again, Jason Statham, one of my favorite actors easily, and I do like him in this movie, and I think this is a very solid film. So basically the plot of this movie surrounds this girl who's basically really smart, and, you know, she's basically being abducted, and he basically has to protect her, and, you know, they find out that there's basically this safe with all this money in it. Of course, hence the title, Safe. And yeah, I do dig Jason Statham's performance in this movie. I think there's some cool action, a lot of cool moments in the movie for sure. So Safe, I'm glad I checked this one out because it is definitely a solid film for sure. And again, Jason Statham, I'm a huge fan of his work, so this is a very good movie right here. Safe, definitely one of the best of 2012. But lastly here, the last movie that I want to go over here is Jack Reacher. Of course, the original Jack Reacher. This is actually the 2-movie feature collection. So, of course, with Tom Cruise, I do like Tom Cruise as well. He's another one of my favorite actors, and yeah, this is definitely a solid film. This actually was filmed in Pittsburgh as well, in my area, for those who didn't know. Yeah, I dig the action. I mean, it's more of a crime-solving mystery type of film than it is action, but I do dig the action in this movie when the action does happen. I mean, you of course have the introduction with the sniper, you have the chase scene when Tom Cruise is basically driving through downtown Pittsburgh at night, which is pretty cool, and then he gets on the public transportation bus and he has to basically escape. And yeah, a lot of cool moments. A lot of cool moments in the movie, especially with Tom Cruise's performance in the movie. Really solid. So, Jack Reacher, definitely a great movie. I know that a lot of people would have this movie up there in their list of 2012. So, Jack Reacher, definitely another great movie. So, that's my list for my favorite movies of 2012. So, let me know what you think. What are your favorite movies of the year 2012? So feel free to let me know, and what did you think of this list? So on that note, thanks for watching, and have a good one.